Tennis may seem like a simple sport, but watch out because it has some rules that'll leave you scratching your head or downright frustrated. So let's serve up a few eyebrow raises and explore the unknown and totally weird rules tennis players have to follow. Like the no toilet break rule. Yep, you heard it right. I mean, can you believe it? According to the rule, players aren't allowed to take any bathroom breaks during sets, causing some serious frustration among top athletes. It's brutal, it's inhuman, and it's causing quite a stir among players and fans. Because who'd even agree to such a crazy idea? And the pros agree because recently, after playing 5 games at Melbourne Park against Roberto Carballes Baena at the Australian Open, Novak Djokovic had to take matters into his own hands by going against the umpire's directive to take a bathroom break mid-set. I'm not surprised because sometimes you just can't control it when nature calls. But this caused quite a ruckus on the court. And the weirdest part is, the umpire didn't even realize what had happened.
He needs to go to the toilet?
Right until they saw Djokovic run off the court and had to ask one of the stewards what was going on. Hello? What? The guy was really going through something really urgent here. The least you could do was pay attention? But anyway, Novak returned soon enough, within a minute actually, and the game continued. So let me just sum things up here. You're telling me that these players aren't even allowed a minute to relieve themselves during these matches? That's totally disrespectful. And the Serb isn't the only one who thinks that. Andy Murray also went through a similar situation when he wasn't allowed to take a second toilet break despite playing for nearly 6 hours. That's just crazy, man. Absolutely bonkers. But is it crazier than the challenger rule? Well, no. The no toilet break rule remains to be the weirdest for me right now, but I gotta take a break from that, because I can, and maybe talk about some other bizarre rules. Like the challenger system that allows players outside the top 100 to match up within competitions against players of any rank. Now you must be thinking, why is this even on this list? But imagine you're Rafa Nadal taking part in a challenger tournament and expecting to play against an average player and ace them with a wrist flip. Because, let's be honest, who can top Nadal? But suddenly the average player you were expecting pulls out a reverse Uno card and starts playing out of their mind, confusing and eventually defeating you. Being a Nadal fan, I'd like to believe he won't act like a sour loser and will even congratulate the opponent on his win, no matter how unexpected. But this rule can cause some heavy tension too, like it did in 2017's Australian Open when Denis Istomin, a number 97 player, defeated Djokovic, a world-class player, in the second round. It caused quite an upset and shocked everyone, even Novak, who, by the way, seems to be getting the worst of all these rules. Because, as if these 2 examples weren't enough, I've got another one where he had a tiff with the umpire. Thanks to the no coaching rule, which basically states that during a match, players can't receive any coaching at all, except during changeovers or medical timeouts. Sounds simple enough, right? But it's not, and the Novak incident proves it. Now, this happened during the 2016 French Open, where he received a code violation, all because he was offered some water by his coach. But the umpire disagreed, saying that he was clearly receiving some guidance from his coach. The whole thing became heated and wasn't the player's best moment, to be honest. But he did end up winning the French Open that year, so all's well that ends well, I guess. Wait, not so fast. Because tennis really doesn't work that way. Every moment in this game counts, leaving no room for error for the player. The double fault rule's here to make sure of that. Another obscure but crucial one, this rule states that a player cannot serve 2 faults in a row, and if they do, they lose a point. You may think this is an easy one, but it really isn't, because in the court, where you're not even allowed to take a toilet break by the way, tensions can mount and your focus can shift, costing you the game. And I've got just the Novak incident to prove that. What? The guy's potentially broken every tennis rule I've mentioned so far. Not my fault that he keeps coming up. Anyway, you know the 2016 French Open he won? Well, he wasn't totally undefeated during his matches, because during the quarterfinals in his game against Austria's Dominic Thiem, a double fault cost him the entire game. Right up until the fifth set, both of the guys were evenly matched. The game even felt set for Novak, but in a tense moment while serving for the match at 5-4 in the fifth set, Djokovic double faulted, which gave Thiem the opportunity to serve for the match. And to everyone's surprise, that was the boost he needed to win the game. Sucks for the Serb, but just goes to show that all's not well that ends well in the world of tennis. And with that, let's move on to the next rule on my list, the let rule. So okay, let me explain it this way. You know how it's always eerily silent during tennis matches? Sure, you can't hear a pin drop in there, but it's also not as rowdy as, say, a football or a basketball match. The reason is, tennis players are actually given a lot of leeway if they get distracted during the play. And with the let rule, they can get a do-over if their serve is interfered with, let's say a disturbance on the court or the opponent. And if that happens, a player can redo their serve, which can help a lot, especially if you're on the brink of losing the point or the game. And guess who tried to take advantage of this rule once? Yep, you guessed it, our very own champion, Novak Djokovic. The year was 2019, the tournament was the US Open, and the game was against his 2016 opponent, Thiem. During their match, Novak called let on a crucial point, claiming that a loud noise from the crowd affected him. Thiem wasn't having any of it though, and called Novak out for being sneaky, leading to a heated argument between the two. So while the rule does operate in a gray area, fact is, tennis needs to be played in silence. It's super important, which is why they've got another rule for it as well. The silent when the ball's away rule, which sounds poetic, but mind you, it isn't. In fact, it's a pretty strict one, because according to this rule, players and the fans need to keep quiet when their opponent is serving the ball, so that the server can focus on their performance without any distractions, and if the rule isn't followed, it can result in a hindrance warning. Try explaining that to football fans. You'd be trampled on the spot. Proving, once and for all, that despite the extra number of pearl-clutching rules this game entails, it's definitely a lot more polished than some of the other sports out there. Like, come on guys, these players aren't even allowed to drop their rackets during the game. And you do remember the no toilet break rule, right? But I guess that's what adds in the uniqueness and thrill of the game. And that's why so many people love it. So what's your take on these tennis rules? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video.